Hello friends, this is Christopher Davis-Shannon with Ukulele Magazine, and today I'm going to show you how to play a chord melody arrangement of the Guy Lombardo song Coquette. Now I really love teaching with this song because it's an AABA form, which is one of our most used song forms in the 20s and 30s. And it also has an A section that's very simple. It's really just two chords that we can navigate with one simple chord shape on the instrument. And then the B section is what's called our Honeysuckle Rose Bridge, or it's the same harmony as the Fats Waller song Honeysuckle Rose, which is a common harmony in bridges found on many different jazz standards. So by learning this tune, you'll actually be learning bits and pieces of other songs as well, which will make them easier to learn in the future. Now to start out, we're going to be using this one simple chord shape, which is just our major sixth chord shape, which happens to be the tuning of our instrument. Now if we want to make this movable, we need to know where the root is, or the name of the chord. This is a C6th chord, so we need to know the note on the C string to make it a different chord. We're going to be in the key of G today. So where's a G on our C string? It's up on the 7th fret. So if we bar across our 7th fret, we have a G6th chord. This is our first chord of the song. The second chord that we're going to need for the A section of the song is a D6th. And we'll see later this is really a D13 chord, but we're going to play a D6th here and it's going to sound just fine, which means the 2nd fret. You could think, you know, your D7th here, make it a 6th chord. So if I sing just the A section of the tune, it's going to sound like this. Tell me why you keep fooling down to D6th, little coquette. And we stay here forever. Making fun of the ones who loved you. Now we can go to this G6 here, but we're actually going to end down here on this open position G6. Open 2, open 2. You might know this as an E minor 7th. They are the same chord. So we're going to end there. Let's just try strumming the basic chords for this A section. 2, 3 on G6. Tell me why you keep fooling down to D6, little coquette. We stay here. Making fun of the ones to G6. Loved you. And that's it. Now we just need to add the melody to that and one extra little chord. So our first melody note, if we're on this G6, is actually the G up top. We go back and forth between the root and the 6th. So we're just going to go. So that's the 10th fret to the 7th fret, just keeping this bar. Let's try that together. 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to come down to this diminished chord here. G sharp diminished 7th, 1, 2, 1, 2. Because that B is our melody, the 2nd fret of the A string. And then we're going to our, remember, going to D6, but again, our melody is going to be the root. It's going to be root to 6th. Yet again, it's the same thing we just played on G, except it's on a D now. Right? And we have this passing diminished chord. Now, if it's tough to get to this diminished chord, you don't have to play it. You can just go to the D6 a half beat early. Listen to this. Versus yes, the diminished 7th chord sounds better, but for sake of simplicity, you can just get to the D6 a little bit early. It's going to sound just fine. You're playing the melody correctly. So we play that D6th lick, and then we just wait. We'll see what to do here later in the lesson. And then we're going to repeat that D6th lick. We're going to pluck the C string, pluck the E string open, and then strum our G6th. So the last half of the A section we get. And repeat. So let's listen to this entire chord melody of the A section. It's really just based around these two bar positions that we need on the 7th and the 2nd fret. Diminished. And we wait. We go back to the top of the form. 3, 4. And we wait. 2, 3, 4. And just a slight difference on the second ending before we go to the bridge. Our melody note is now not the B in this G6 chord, but it's our open G string. So we're just going to voice this G6, but don't put pressure down on whatever finger you're using on the A string here, and strum. So our G becomes the melody note. So we have So that's our A section of the tune. That's all we need. We'll come back in and fill those blanks in later with a little improvisation, but let's look at the B section of the song. Now, I already told you that the bridge of this song is our Honeysuckle Rose bridge, but what does that mean? Well, it means 1, 7, 4, dominant 2, 5. What does that mean? Well, we're in the key of G, so our 1 chord is G, or in our case, G6 is home. It's our settled sound. We're going to turn this into a 1-7 chord, a dominant sound, so play G7. Then whenever you hear one of these dominant 7th chords, you want to ask yourself, where does it want to go? G7 wants to resolve where? To C. We've played that change so many times from when we first picked up the instrument. Dominant sound, resolution. But we're going to play C6 here. All right, so we're going to go G7, dominant, to C6. Now what's our dominant 2 chord? Well, G, A. We're back to the beginning of the musical alphabet, so an A 7th chord. Ask ourselves, where does A 7th want to go? It wants to go to a kind of D. And in our case, that's our D 7th chord. We're gonna play 5, 6, 5, 5. The same chord shape we just used for the A 7th. Down here, just slid on up and used as a bar. This is our 5 chord in the key of G. It wants to come back home to G, to the beginning of the tune. So we have 1, 7, G 7th, 4, C 6th, dominant 2, A 7th, and 5. D7. And these are all going to be 8 strums a piece, so it's going to sound like this. Dum dum do 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 day to C6 da 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 do day 2 chord, which is A7th. Ba dum da bo do day to D7th day do when you're, and then we're back to the A section of the tune. Now, to get our chord melody in here, there are some acrobatics involved, but don't let it intimidate you. It's really based around those basic chords that we just played and chords that we already know, those 6th chord shapes that we were using in the A section of the tune, these new movable chord shapes. So our G7th chord is going to sound like this. Seems like a lot, but what are we really doing? We're actually playing G7th to this G6th. It's really from one to the other. That's all that we're truly doing here, with some melody notes on the A string and a passing chord. Start out in G7th, but mute the A string, just like we were doing at the beginning of the second ending of the tune. Then open A strings our melody note. There's our G7th chord. Now we're going to use this diminished chord to bridge it, 4, 5, 4, 5. This is a G7 flat 9 here. It's still a G7th chord. It just has a slightly different flavor to it, that's all. And then we come up to our 6th chord, but our melody knows the 10th fret, so we're really getting a big old G major triad. But I want you to think of it as, this is our home base. We're always returning back to this 6th chord. So we come down to that. So we get open A, again, G7th diminished, land there, and then finally our 6th chord. And it walks down to our C6th bar melody is, so what's that? 5, 2, 5, 2, G, A, and we can just strum all of our strings while we do this. That's not so bad, is it? So first half of our bridge. Right? And then we go to our A7. The good thing is our A7th chord, it's really the same melody we played over top of the G7. We're moving everything up 2 frets. So we start with A7th, 2nd fret, 4th fret, then we need our diminished chord to bridge the next voicing, 6, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7. And then up to our 6th chord voicing, but it's now across the 9th fret with our melody on the 12th fret. So our A7 is this. Same thing that we played on the G7th. Everything's just slid up 2 frets, that's all. And then our D7th, we come down, we know our chord shape, but our melody is 7, 5, 7, 9. And when we get to that 9th fret, let's use our diminished 7th chord here to bring us back home. So there's a lot of moving pieces in this bridge, but if you take it slowly and learn all of your little landing points and then just connect the dots, it's not so bad. So our whole bridge sounds like this. Go to A7. D7. And where are we? Back at the top. Now that we have the basic form under our fingers, let's look at how we can start filling in those blanks in the A section and start improvising a little bit with shapes that we already know. One of the best ways to start improvising is to use your melody as a launching pad. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's just fill in the blanks that the melody has given us and react to that with chord shapes that we already know. So if we listen to our melody, oh, there's this big space here. What can I do here? Another big space. We have these two places in the melody that we can start to fill in and still really stay true to the song. Let's see what we can do with the chord shapes that we already have. If we're on this D6th chord, well, let's just stay here and see what we can do to fill in these two measures with that. One of the easiest things that we can do is use what's called a chromatic approach tone, or just take the chord, slide it back a fret, slide it back where it came from. Just that with a little bit of rhythm. Listen, so we get even that is starting to improvise, but it's very simple. Maybe we want a little bit more melody in here. Well, we can ask ourselves, what melody can we actually add to this D6th chord? Remember we mentioned earlier, it's really a D13 chord, which is really a D7th chord, a dominant sound. That means we could of course play D7th here. We know that this is going to sound nice because this still gives us that sound of wanting to go somewhere, which is our dominant sound. Now what about if we add the 4th fret on our A string? That's a major 7th. That's not going to work here, at least not something that we can hang out on for a long time, maybe as a passing note. We probably want to stay away from that. We know the 5th fret works because that's our melody. So we actually have 4 notes that we can play here because we have our chromatic approach, a half step below, our dominant 7th chord, and then our major triad. So with that, we can take the same idea and start adding a little bit more melody to it. Now, of course, rhythm and phrasing is the most important thing. And by interspersing these little bits of improvisation between the phrase and the melody, forces us not to create run-on sentences in our playing. We need to stop. We only have 2 measures to say something, and that should be short and concise. Now, if you're looking to learn some of these idiomatic swing rhythms, one of the best ways to do that is to listen to the old music, but specifically listen to the big bands. Listen to Count Basie, Ellington, Tommy Dorsey. Those last choruses of the song, what's called the shout chorus, where the horns are playing these rhythmic figures, are great places to start to feel and steal these basic rhythms from. And then it's just adding a little bit of melody to that. Think of your uke as the horn section that's filling in the blanks. Now, what happens when we get to the end of the tune? So we're on this G6. We can, of course, slide that back. Always works. But we know we have this G6 up here. So let's explore that sound to fill in the blanks in our first and second ending. But remember, this G6 is a G major chord. It's not a dominant sound. It doesn't want to go anywhere. This is home. So we have a different selection of notes we can use. We can always come down and return to our chromatic approach. But adding our 8th fret, what happens when we do that? Well, that's a G7th chord now. That doesn't work. It changes the functionality of the sound. But now our 9th fret works. That major 7's fine. And of course, our 10th fret's fine. So again, we have 4 notes that we can really play with. Chromatic approach, 6th, major 7th, and home. Now, we also want to add a little bit of motion to the end of this because we're on G, we're going back to G at the beginning of the tune. So we want to say something that says D7th. Why don't we take that sound of 5-6-5-5 that we used in the bridge and see what we can do with that? This is a dominant sound, and our sound of needing to go somewhere is here on the G and C strings, which means we can add anything on the A string. It's going to sound fine. We have our chromatic approach, 6th fret, 7th fret. We could even add the sharp 9 if we want, and coming back. So suddenly, with just thinking, here's a D, we have all of these melody notes available to us over top of D. And it's really on those settled sounds, the G, that we need to be a little bit safer. So if we come off the end of the tune, we could play something like this. top. So play around a little bit and see what you can do to fill in the blanks and add a little something extra to this song.